Hello everyone, my name is Posthuman, and today I'm going to walk you through how to make this bass from scratch. Let's get into it. Okay, before I start this video, I would like to announce that I have a Patreon, a Discord server, and a SoundCloud. On my Patreon, you can get a bunch of samples, Serum presets, Patcher presets, really anything you want for dubstep production. My Discord server, I upload a bunch of random samples on there. I'm going to start doing weekly VCs as well on Fridays. I don't know what we'll do in there, I don't really have anything planned yet. I also recently uploaded a song on SoundCloud, so if you want to go check that out, go check it out. But I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Have a good day. Okay, to start, we're going to enable Oscillator A, and we're going to go digital dist 8-bit flop. We are going to bring this down 2 octaves. We're going to have the unison set to 16, the detune at 0.72, the random all the way down, the volume all the way down, and it's going to be modulated with LFO1, which is an envelope that looks like this. And there is a slight gap right here before the audio, like a slight ramp up. You can't really see, but this isn't all the way back. This is right around here. And then we're going to enable FM from B. And we're going to set this to 41%. Next, we're going to enable Oscillator B. We're going to have the unison set to 9. We're going to have the detune set to 0.69. And we're going to modulate this up by 13 with a ramp that looks like this. We're going to have the random all the way down at 0, and we're going to have the volume at 0 as well. This is what it should sound like after you've done all this. Now, it will sound a little bit different for you, but that's because you need to go to the global tab, and you need to bring the width from 100 all the way down to 0. Now, we're going to go back to the main tab. We're going to enable the sub-oscillator. It's going to be just a default sine wave down 2 octaves, and we're going to modulate the volume from 0% to 60% with a third LFO that looks like this. And this is what it should sound like. After this, we're going to enable a filter. We're going to go multi, high notch 12. We're going to have the frequency of the first band set to 271 Hz. We're going to have the resonance set to 35%. And we're going to be modulating it by 57% with this ramp down. And we're going to have the frequency of the second band set to 41%. And this is what it should sound like. Alright, now let's get into the effects. First, we're going to enable an EQ. We're going to have the first band set to a peak. We're going to have the gain at negative 17.5 decibels. We're going to have the Q at 53%, and we're going to have the frequency at 203 Hz. After this, we're going to enable a second peak. We're going to have the frequency at 10,932 Hz. We're going to have the Q at 21%, and we're going to have the gain at up by 5.7 decibels. And so what it should sound like, it's just removing a little bit of mud and bringing up some highs. After this, we're going to enable distortion. It is going to be set to tube, and it is going to be at 85% on the drive. And that is all you're changing. Next, we're going to enable compression. We're going to have it set to multiband. We're going to have the gain up at 10.4 decibels, and we're going to have the release up at 999 milliseconds, or just 100%. And that is all we're changing. This is what it should sound like. Next, we're going to enable hyperdimension. We're going to have the mix at 17% on the hyper. All of these settings over here are untouched. We're going to have the dimension size at 0%, and we're going to have the mix at 11%. And this is just giving it a little bit more stereo width. After this, we're going to enable chorus. We're going to have the rate at 0.08 Hz. We're going to have the depth at 8.5 milliseconds. And we're going to click right here. It should say low pass filter for you, but we're going to click it and turn it into a high pass filter. And we're just going to leave this at 1000 Hz. And we're going to bring the mix to 21%. And that is all we're doing in Serum. That is what it sounds like. Now the post-processing does get a little bit complicated, but I will make sure to try and walk you through it as best as I can. We're going to start off with an OTT. It is just going to be at 60% depth. The time is at 1000% and the outgain is at 6.5 decibels. This is just compressing it, is what it sounds like. Close out all of that real quick. After this, we're going to enable a Camel Crusher, which is a free VST. If you do not have it, I would recommend getting it. And we're just going to click presets and go with British Clean. And that is all we're doing. It is an extremely just clean distortion preset. After this, we're going to enable a disperser. We're going to have it at D4, 292 Hz, the amount at 11%, and the pinch at 0.54, or you can just like kind of eyeball it. Next, we're going to enable a patcher, and this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So I'm going to disconnect all this real quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to send this two ways. So we have the from FL Studio and the to FL Studio. We're going to drag the from to the to. And then we're also going to drag this out into any convolver plugin of your choice. I'm using the kilohertz convolver for this. And in this convolver, oh my god, in this convolver, we have another bass one shot, which I will leave in the description. And it sounds like this. We just have the starting at 11.3 milliseconds. We have the end at 300 milliseconds. We have the fade out at 100% and the stretch at 75%. And as I said, I will leave this bass in the description, but I do highly recommend that after you make the bass patch, you switch out this bass for some of your own sounds. Try messing around with the stretch, the fade in, the fade out, everything, and see if you can get some cool variations. And you can just pretty much get unlimited variations with this. After this, we're going to run this into an EQ, just removing everything under 500 hertz. It should sound like this. Oh. And then we're throwing this into any reverb of your choice. I'm using Valhalla Room. We have it at 28.6% and 0.25 seconds. And this is what it should sound like. And then we're going to route the main back in as well. So that is what it sounds like. As you can tell, this is doing most of the heavy lifting with the processing of this bass. Next, we are going to enable an EQ. It's going to have one band at 232 hertz being brought down by 6 decibels. The second band is going to be at 643 hertz and is going to be being bring up by 2.9 decibels. And then we have a third band at 14,252 hertz or 254 hertz. And this is being bring down by 1.1 decibels. Just barely shaving off a little bit of the top end. We're then throwing this into a Fruity Wave Shaper. And this is the default settings for a Fruity Wave Shaper. And you're just going to hold down Alt. And you're going to right click right here. And that is all you're changing up here. And then we're going to bring this up by a little bit. We have the preamp at 109%. This is default. And we're just going to bring this up to right there. And we're going to leave the mix at 100% and the post at 100% as well. We're going to next enable a second EQ. We have our first band at 142 hertz, and we are shaving off 1.7 decibels. We have our second band at 286 hertz, and we are bringing this down by 1.6 decibels. We have a third band at 781 hertz, and this is being bring down by 1.9 decibels. We have a fourth band at 3050 hertz, and we are bringing this down by 1.7 decibels. And then we have our final band at 11,511 hertz, and this is at negative 6.2 decibels. This is just removing some muddiness and a little bit of harshness on the high end. This is with it, and this is without it. So just those harsh frequencies that we don't really want in our bass. And then after this, we enable a M saturator. And just leave it on default settings. M saturator is also a free plugin. Melda has a lot of free plugins, and I would recommend going to grab those as well if you don't have them. And then we're just throwing this into a Fruity Soft Clipper on default settings. And this is what it sounds like. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something as well.